What is something a lot of people find attractive that is actually a turn-off for you? I'll tack onto that with any lap dances in a strip club, bachelor party setting. Why in the hell would I want to get aroused in front of my friends? Am I just expected to be so cool that I'm unimpressed? Or whip out my piece and start jerking it in front of everyone and high-fiving with my free hand? Honestly, what am I expected to do with a hot lady trying to get my rocks off in front of everyone I know? I don't have a problem with what people spend their money on. If designer things make them happy, then have it. And there does come a certain point where you can't hide wealth, whether that's cars, homes, travel. Most people's lifestyle changes the more they earn. My problem is when people don't stay humble and they think wealth makes them better than someone else. It doesn't. Any level of machismo or physical aggression in men. I do not want you to get mad in my defense over little things. I also do not want to see you punch a wall in your rage. I will actually end up worrying that you are going to pick a dumb fight or break something over a stupid thing. Your rage makes me nervous even if it's not directed at me. It's not a turn on. Like sure, if someone is actually trying to hurt me or creep on me, I don't mind a guy stepping in to help, but it should be a last resort. I much prefer a man who wants to just leave or escalate a situation as calmly as possible. Yes, on my first date with my now boyfriend, we were in a drive-thru to get drinks and these crackheads in front of us got out and started yelling saying we were staring at them. We weren't, and instead of getting all aggressive back, my BF calmly told them to just get back in their car and completely de-escalated the situation. I told him months later that the situation was something that made me like him even more, and really showed his character. He was shocked. He thought I would have wanted him to fight them or something, but he doesn't like to fight unless it's totally necessary. God. There was either an Ada or relationships post a while back about a guy whose girlfriend had left him because she witnessed him beating the shit out of someone whilst grinning and he could not understand why. The comments had to, mostly politely, explain to him that she was probably thinking how easily he could hurt her if she ever did anything that annoyed him. Most fascinating thing, I was mocked in school for having extremely long, thick lashes. Spider eye they would call me. Now they're running to salons trying to get that very thing done for a lot of money. I once had a dude in a club try to rip off my fake lashes. He was so pissed at fake everything, he felt he needed to teach me a lesson. He made my lid pop off my eye socket with an audible smack. Edit. Oh wowzers, did not see this comment blow up coming. So, to clarify a few things, what happened next was that I yelled at the dude, WTF is wrong with you? Slapped him in the face and walked away. Luckily he didn't follow me, and we didn't run into each other that night again. The comments have made me realize that this was assault, something that I never saw that way due to being used to much more intense assault experiences, so I never pressed charges or had him thrown out of the club. Back then I didn't think of it as assault. I just considered it really bad behavior. Thank you everyone for the validating and encouraging words. Regarding a picture, I had one up for a while, then this comment blew up and I am adamant about protecting my privacy, so while I understand the curiosity, please also understand my need for anonymity. Thanks again and have an awesome day. Night everyone. It's interesting how men can have strong preferences for high voices or low voices. I have a pretty low voice for a woman, and my college boyfriend, who in retrospect was kind of an asshole, used to tell me how he wished my voice was higher because it would be more feminine. Then the next guy I dated absolutely loved the fact that I had a low voice and said that really high voices were a turn off for him. I don't know if it's just a coincidence, but the first guy who liked high voices tended to be attracted to younger women, not literal children as far as I knew, but 18-19-year-olds, while the second guy tended to be attracted to older women, not like elderly women, just somewhat older than him. I remember going to some of the younger guys' beginning of the year parties for our fraternity. They were always trying to get us older guys to come to stuff like that. Since many of us were in 6 years programs, like architecture for me, We were still fairly active in certain roles and even parties, but the beginning of the year parties tended to be more crazy and less hanging out with your friends. I was 25 and for once didn't have a huge project due soon, so I decided to go to the party. Showed up and just couldn't fucking do it. The little 18 years old looked like literal children to me, and they were blasted and fucking making out with each other and showing their tits and shit. It was just too much. I get it. It's pretty typical. Incoming freshmen tend to go wild at first without any thought to repercussions. It's your first time being free from your parents for a lot of them. I understand, but holy fuck, it was like watching a bunch of kids and I just was so uncomfortable. Didn't know when my eyes had changed from seeing 18 years old as peers to seeing them as children, but I felt like I was going to go to prison just from being there. Stayed like 20 minutes and decided that was the last time I go to beginning of the year parties lol. I was actually thinking about this the other day. At what point is it creepy to get all hot and bothered about someone who is just barely old enough to legally view naked or whatever? We're talking about teenagers here. 18. It's like, if 17 was the legal limit, would you be interested? 16? 13? When is someone too young? Once you start thinking about the whole barely legal thing, it's actually kind of creepy and gross. I had a disagreement with a former roommate where he could not fathom that anybody wanted other things out of life besides extreme wealth. In his view, literally every person trying to do good has an ulterior motive, or is already rich, or I just can't get wealth and is trying to get laid some other way. Central to his worldview was this notion that wealth is the real and only goal and everything else is a means to it, or a failure to achieve it or something. In fairness to a lot of women, they sometimes dumb it down to seem less threatening to guys. Some commenters on this thread voiced their preference for smart women, and I agree with them, but even some of them are okay with it only so long as the woman doesn't seem smarter than them. After a few times of losing out on guys they were interested in and having a pretty clear notion it was because they were too smart for them, I imagine women learn not to seem too smart. Plus, some guys respond well to being able to mansplain things. They say every sign has a story behind it. Behaviors like this are the same way. They didn't just wake up one day and decide to play it like this all the time for no reason. After getting into UFC and taking up martial arts, I've realized that the toughest, scariest fighters usually look like unassuming dorks or Twitch streamers whose mothers made them take up a sport to get out of the house, especially in jiu-jitsu. Some guy who looks like Tim from accounting will walk in and snap all your limbs. Yet big tough guys at the bar covered in tattoos love talking about beating up 10 guys in the last week, thinking it will make them more attractive. Once I was sitting in my mom's car playing Minecraft at the very back of the car while she was picking up my dad, and a bunch of teenage boys came up to the car and I thought they were about to steal the car, but nah, they just started taking pics and at one point one guy was holding a door like he was about to get in and drive. After their photo shoot they just left. I'll never understand why people do these things. Most drug-free bodybuilders actually don't look super huge until the shirt comes off. I don't have a problem with people using them, but drugs have really skewed people's perspectives of what drug-free bodybuilding looks like. Edit. Look up the WNBF, World Natural Bodybuilding Federation, if you want to see what the creme de la creme of natural bodybuilding looks like, and even those people look less insane when they aren't super lean for the competition. You can only stay that lean for short periods of time. Knew a girl who has a thing for bad guys. Finally went on a date with the well-known awful guy. Texted me 30 minutes into their first date. Can you come get me from? Dude suggested that city as their first date. She's like a bit far but okay. Dude was doing 120 miles per hour plus to get there, and ditched her when they got there because she was crying. Go figure. Speed limit along that highway is between 30 to 70 miles per hour. The way some girls try to get perfect eyebrows. Yay, I get no one likes a monobrow even on guys, but a girl I know looks like she's two Nike logos and it's all I can see. I'm bad for not looking people in the eye, but with her I must look real attentive. Edit. Thank you for all the upvotes. My friend thought he was clever for getting 1K likes on Facebook. I've kicked his ass. A big dick. It's intimidating and all I can think is edit. A lot of questions about how big is too big. Let's just say I call my G-spot Waldo because it's always hiding and neither extra length nor extra girth have found him, but agility has come close. Anything over 6 inches lengthwise and like a teenager's hitchhiking thumb size widthwise is too big for me personally. 4/6 length is perfect. Even under that is fine as long as it has the agility of a ravenous snake. Edit 2. I feel like people are misconstruing my thumb analogy. I don't mean the thickness of a thumb. I mean holding it sideways like a hitchhiker. So, 3½ inches maybe? A long time ago I had a friend set me up with one of her friends, and I'm not one to play the whole I have to wait a few days to text bullshit. When we had our first date, I started texting her randomly, usually at the end of the day just asking how was your day, and shit like that. Not over the top constant, literally just that at the start. Then my friend called and told me you're texting too much, chill out. So I said cool, I'll just stop altogether then. She was like no, you don't have to do that. I was like nah fuck that, I don't play that stupid game. If once a day toward the end of the day is too much then I'm done. Luckily the girl texted me and told me she never said to our friend that I was texting too much and she was cool with it. I still fucking hate texting though. Edit. Yes, I'm well aware that the girl probably did mention it to my friend. Lol. I just let it go. Plus, if you knew my friend, I wouldn't doubt that she actually did make it up herself. She is insane, friend, not girl I dated. Although girl I dated is kind of insane as well, just not nearly as bad. Lol. Yup. Not playing. Never did. Partially because I'm oblivious, but also because I respect people's words. If you tell me no when I ask you to hang out alone with me, or be generally vague and unable to commit to a date, I'll take that as not being enthusiastic about the prospect of hanging out. Me, so I won't pester people. I'm an introvert, so I understand that some people will need some prodding, but again, I'll take you on your word. And as an introvert, asking you out is already a lot of energy I'm expending. Smile. After that I'll assume you want our relationship to be friends at best. My buddies and I call each other daddy. It started off as a joke, and kept going, especially after a couple of them had kids. But then one dude started dating a new chick. She came around the group a lot and was cool, so she started saying it too. Then one day the aforementioned friend and his GF went to meet her parents. She actually introduced him as her daddy. I can't imagine that went over well with her folks. Super muscular men. Don't get me wrong, muscle definition when they are unintentionally flexing is super hot, but ABS are just a no from me. I would rather he have a bit of padding. Guys that have a bit of the chub will always get my number before a bodybuilder does. Edit. Thanks for Silver 3. It's my first one. Edit 2. I think it's more if the mindset that girls don't find attractive. Since we are already self-conscious about our bodies enough, it's nice to have a partner that doesn't care as much to balance things out. It's not that muscles are unattractive necessarily, it's just the focus on having them sometimes becomes a personality trait, and that can be unattractive. Kinda like women who are obsessed with plastic surgery, I think. My ex was a very large shredded bodybuilder type guy who had body dysmorphia, and his entire identity basically was being the big guy. Current boyfriend is way more up my alley with respect to balance, takes care of himself, has some good muscle tone, but also likes food, and his identity is not at all entirely about his body. Having ABS isn't the be all and end all for him, and I like that. Exactly. People don't realize that the Dwayne Johnson body is almost impossible for most people to attain. People who lift heavy weights regularly and eat right aren't going to look like muscly freaks. They're going to look trim and balanced. People be like, I want a dad bod, but what they think a dad bod is actually the body of someone who is relatively fit. There is the trope that you shouldn't get muscles for girls because guys are more critical and body dysmorphic about muscle size than girls. But yeah, I imagine a lot of natural and toned physique preferences are actually gym bodies, and then many assume the bloated bodybuilders are the kind of guy that goes to the gym most days. It's also why many girls are very hesitant to do weightlifting because they want to be toned, and worry that lifting free weights will make them Hulk out, as if it were that easy. And to add to the difficulties and comedy of non-gym going girls worried they'll turn into the Incredible Hulk, y'all don't even have physiological effective levels of testosterone, the body's anabolic steroid, floating around in your bloodstream. I really think everyone should lift, especially girls, since you're prone to osteoporosis later in life. So good on you. Just to add to the poll, do you think dad bod or six-pack V-shaped physique is more attractive? Anything implanted triple so if it appears unnatural. Breast, butt, lip, cheek, chin, back, bicep, calf. Anything that has been improved. I'd prefer a half handful to 5 handfuls of man-made any day of the week. I know it's the artificiality that turns me off, but I also suspect that it's the superficial, fickle mindset behind the person as well. The reason I suspect that this is the case is because I have no problem being attracted to people who have had surgery to replace what they have lost due to illness or accident. It's a very difficult thing to explain logically. Not that you necessarily do this, but I've noticed a trend that when people say they prefer natural looks, it's usually in comparison to a rough natural idea. Men will often say they dislike breast implants, but generally are comparing it to an idea of naturally round, symmetrical, perky medium-sized breasts. But on an individual woman, are fake B or C cup breasts less attractive than somewhat asymmetrical, droopy, small breasts? Women do similar. Plenty of women say they prefer men to not be too muscular or not have gym bodies, even with a bit of belly. But few of them are referring to men with sloping shoulders, a sunken chest, rail-thin arms, and a pot belly. They generally mean a man fortunate enough to naturally have strong arms, a broad chest and back, and fat distribution that gives him strong physique even with a bit of fat. Or men who are very skinny naturally, or don't carry fat in a visually pleasant way. How many of those women prefer that particular man to look natural versus how he'd look if he worked out and built up some muscle? A woman who is unwilling to be half of the relationship. I'm not paying all the bills. I'm not the only one who mows the lawn, does our taxes, shops for groceries, etc. I'm not hired help or an ATM. I want you to be my partner in life. Edit. Obviously this is not exclusive to women. Not sure why that needs to be clarified since we're supposed to be answering the question from our own perspectives, but here you go. My current boyfriend says that we should be better together and I 100% agree. He takes out the trash and I put a new bag in. He puts away the dishes and I load the new ones. We work together as a team to complete things and it's actually so awesome. I had a relationship where I felt like I was my boyfriend's mom, and I've gotta say I would never go back to that now. It was a huge turn off that a 25-year-old man couldn't even flush the toilet himself, never cleaned, created messes everywhere, avoided any responsibilities, like paying bills and handling moves, etc. Anyone who can work well with others is inherently sexy. This will get buried, but ambition, or being extremely driven, goal-oriented, I find it usually manifests as workaholism or over-prioritization of your job, or whatever dedicated hobby your ambition is tied to. Obviously I want someone to be able to hold down a job and have meaningful hobbies, but overall I get along much better with leisure-driven people who live a well-balanced and easygoing life over people who have lofty goals or a go-getter personality. I am leisure-driven myself, and tend to feel pressured, both directly and indirectly, by goal-oriented people. That's not something I want out of a partner. Edited to clarify, leisure equals laziness. For instance, I like outdoor activities and it's important that I can share them with the partner. I'm also creative and that's something that's fun to do with a partner as well, that is collaborating on a game campaign. These are leisure activities, but they are not passive activities. They still take a degree of effort and often skill. What I'm incompatible with is people whose enjoyment of life or sense of identity, fulfillment is based around a sense of productivity, measurable progress, or sacrifice, or who struggle not to project these attributes onto others.